And really interesting, like if Candace Owens is not CIA and she says, oh, she has this information on the CIA being MK Ultra, how is she getting this information? If Candace Owens isn't CIA herself, then how is she getting all of this top secret information about the CIA, about MK Ultra, brainwashing, mind control programs? How is Candace Owens getting this secret information about other presidents around the world and their wives or man wives, whatever? How is she getting this information? So anyone who tries to say, "Oh, Candace Owens, she's definitely not CIA," I would rethink that one. And then she says, so she got it from a journalist. Who leaked it to the journalist? Who leaks to a journalist that the French president's wife is really a man? Like, who leaked it to the journalist in the first place? Is the next question. I think Candace Owens is CIA. I think she works for the Central Intelligence Agency. Because how is she getting all of this top secret information about the presidents and their wives? Like, this had to have been, in my opinion, this had to have been leaked by the CIA. And by the way, Martha Stewart must be pissed. I mean, they put her away in prison for some insider trading when she herself's not even a stockbroker. They put Martha Stewart away for insider trading. They put her in prison for a year, like a legendary icon, Martha Stewart. And meanwhile, all of these Epstein list people, all of the gross men on the Epstein list, they're all getting a free pass. All of these rich elites who are on the Epstein list, who did God knows what on the Epstein list, gross, all of these rich elite pedos, they're getting a free pass while Martha Stewart had to go to prison for a year for doing a little bit of insider trading. Martha Stewart must be pissed. Like, Martha Stewart must be like, so you sent me, Martha Stewart, away to prison for insider trading, but then meanwhile you have this whole Epstein list of rich elites and you let them get away with being on the Epstein list? Like, if I were Martha Stewart, I would be livid. I would be pissed right now. Rightfully so. Because, like, they tried to make an example out of her as if Martha Stewart was the only one who did insider trading. They probably all were doing it. Friggin' Trump was probably doing insider trading. Nancy Pelosi definitely. I mean, Trump said he was going to prosecute Nancy Pelosi for insider trading. So they are doing it. They all did it. Why did they single out Martha Stewart when she was just doing what everyone else was doing? Like Martha Stewart, at least Martha Stewart was bringing us apple pie and cake and chocolate cake, and Martha Stewart was making Christmas magical, and she was making the world a better place with her recipes. At least Martha Stewart was doing something productive, and she was just doing what they were all doing. Trump was doing insider trading. They were all doing it, but they decided to go after Martha Stewart, the most innocent. Like, Martha Stewart was the most innocent of the guilty. She's not on the Epstein list. She's not one of those rich elite pedos on the Epstein list, Martha Stewart. Martha Stewart was one of the most innocent of all of Hollywood. And she was not only that, but she brought America these wonderful cakes, wonderful pies, wonderful American recipes. She made the home better. She made Christmas better. And then they decided to completely go after her. And they sent her to prison for a year. They sent Martha Stewart to prison for a whole year to make a woman, a housewife whose daily job was cooking and cleaning and doing recipes, like basically a chef. They sent a housewife whose daily job was making delicious recipes. They sent her to prison for a year. Meanwhile, they have everyone on this Epstein list. They have all these rich elite pedos on the Epstein list, and they get a free pass. Why? Why do the rich elite pedos get a free pass and Martha Stewart has to go to prison for a year for doing a little insider trading? Like that, like, first off, I'm not saying that it was okay that she did insider trading. What I'm saying is they sent her to prison. They could have given her probation. They could have given her community service. And Martha Stewart, she already did community service. She would love doing community service. They could have given Martha Stewart community service. They could have given her probation. It was a non-violent crime. It was insider trading is a non-violent crime. And they sent Martha Stewart, a housewife, to prison for a year with violent criminals. Martha Stewart, who was alleged of doing a non-violent crime, which, by the way, she was just listening to her stockbroker. Martha Stewart wasn't a stockbroker. She didn't take the stockbroker oath. Martha Stewart was listening to her stockbroker, and she was doing what everyone else in Hollywood was doing. They were all doing it. Look at the college admission scandals. Look at the woman, the wives from Full House. Look at the college admission scandals. Look at all of these, Nancy Pelosi. Trump said he's going to prosecute Nancy Pelosi for insider trading. Look at all of these rich men like Bill Gates. They probably do insider trading too. All of these rich elites like Bill Gates. And instead, did they go after them? No, the only one they went after was Martha Stewart, a woman who not only was it hard to be a woman back then, because, okay, it's definitely harder to be a woman in business. At least it used to be. Right now, it's not. But 40, 50 years ago when Martha Stewart was growing up, it was probably much harder to be a woman in business. And she had to just do everything to try to meet with the guys. And the guys, they were probably all doing insider trading. All of these rich elites were probably doing insider trading. Not only were they doing insider trading, but as you can see with this whole Epstein list, there are a bunch of rich elite pedos on the Epstein list. Rich elite pedos on the Epstein list. And are they sending them to prison? Are they sending the rich elite pedos on the Epstein list to prison? No. They go after Martha Stewart, who makes beautiful apple pie and all of these wonderful recipes. I mean, Martha Stewart must be pissed. I would be if I were Martha Stewart. I would be livid. I can't believe you would send her to prison for a non-violent crime when clearly, maybe she deserved to be fined. Maybe she deserved to do community service. And Martha Stewart loves doing community service. She did community service. Why am I defending Martha Stewart? Because why are you letting these rich elite pedos, this is ridiculous. Martha Stewart must be pissed off. There's all of these rich elite pedos on the Epstein list who are getting away with it. Literally rich elite, including Trump. Trump apparently was on the Epstein list. Trump and all these other rich elite pedos, they're all getting away with being on the Epstein list and doing this gross stuff. Meanwhile, you take Martha Stewart, who did a little insider trading, which was basically, she was doing what they were all doing. They were all doing insider trading. All the rich Hollywood elites, all of the businessmen. Trump and Bill Gates was probably doing it. Trump, literally, there's a YouTube video where Trump says he's going to prosecute Nancy Pelosi for insider trading. Nancy Pelosi was doing it too. All of these politicians have been doing insider trading. Nancy Pelosi's doing insider trading. Probably Bill Gates did insider trading. Even Elon Musk did insider trading. But all of these rich elites, they're all doing worse. And not only they're doing insider trading, they're doing worse than insider trading. They're actually on the Epstein list. These gross rich elite pedos are on the Epstein list and they're getting away with it. And then you take innocent Martha Stewart, who definitely was the most innocent of the guilty, and you put her away. You send her to prison for a non-violent crime. You send Martha Stewart, who was an icon. She made recipes. She was a housewife turned businesswoman, making America great again, making America smell great again, beautiful recipes for the home, how to decorate the home at Christmas time. Martha Stewart was a legend, making America smell nice, look better, decorate the home, make beautiful recipes. And then they took her for doing a little bit of insider trading, which they all did. They were all doing insider trading. Even Trump, there's a YouTube video where Trump said he wants to prosecute Nancy Pelosi for doing lots of insider trading, a major politician. And instead, did they send Nancy Pelosi to prison yet? No, they never did. Did they send those rich elite pedos on the Epstein list to prison? No. You know who they sent to prison? A housewife turned businesswoman, Martha Stewart, who literally made America smell great again, made America look great. She decorated. She taught everyone how to decorate the home better. She made Christmas time more magical. She made the recipes taste better. Martha Stewart made some of the best turkey stuffing I've ever, her turkey stuffing recipes, Martha Stewart's apple pie recipes. And the rich elite Hollywoods are insane. These Hollywood rich elites, they're insane. They sent Martha Stewart away for a non-violent crime to prison with violent criminals, a housewife turned billionaire, who, by the way, it was not easy to be a woman in business for Martha Stewart, probably. Now it is. Now it's different. Times are different now. But like 40, 50 years ago, when Martha Stewart was growing up, it was probably much harder to be a woman in business. And they took Martha Stewart, who literally, even if she did insider trading, first off, she's not a stockbroker. She didn't take the stockbroker oath. Not 100% sure if she even knew what she was doing was wrong, because she's not a stockbroker. She didn't take the stockbroker oath. She was listening to the advice of her stockbroker. And on top of it, they were all doing it. All of the rich elites. Trump probably does insider trading with his eyes closed. Bill Gates, Nancy Pelosi. Trump even accused Nancy Pelosi of doing insider trading, a major Democratic politician. They were all doing insider trading. And not even were they doing insider trading, they're doing worse. They're on the Epstein list. They have these Epstein list rich elite pedos. They have rich elite pedos on an Epstein list. Martha Stewart must be pissed. She'd be like, you sent me to prison for a year for doing a little, like you sent me, Martha Stewart, to prison for a year. And by the way, this was her first offense. They sent Martha Stewart to prison on a first offense. And it wasn't even a violent crime. It was a non-violent crime. They sent Martha Stewart to prison for a year on her first offense, which wasn't even a non-violent crime, which, by the way, they were all doing insider trading. Even Trump admitted he wants to prosecute Nancy Pelosi. Who knows? Bill Gates probably does it. They all do it. Warren Buffett, the rich elites, they all probably do insider trading. Not only do they do insider trading, but they're on the friggin' Epstein list. They're on a list, an Epstein list full of rich elite pedos, and they're giving them a free pass. Why are they giving rich elite pedos on an Epstein list a free pass? Because their name's Epstein? Oh, the Epsteins and the Rosenthals and the Wolowitz and the Moneysteins, and the Goldsteins, they all get a free pass, eh? The Epsteins, the Harveysteins, the Weinsteins, they all get a free pass. They're rich elite pedos on the Epstein list. They get a free pass. But then they go after Martha Stewart. And not only did they go after Martha Stewart, but they sent her to prison for a non-violent crime. And it was her first offense, and they sent her for a year. And Martha Stewart, it's not like she was a bum. Martha Stewart was a hardworking woman. She made America great again. She made America smell great again. She made America look great again. She decorated the homes at Christmas time. Martha Stewart made Christmas time magical. This woman was an icon. This woman did stuff for America. This woman was the one making America great again. Trump was making America hate again. Donald Trump was making America hate again. And Martha Stewart was the one actually making America great again with her apple pie recipe, with her turkey stuffing recipe, all these wonderful recipes at Christmas time. Martha Stewart was wonderful. And she was just, even if she did insider trading, which, by the way, she wasn't a stockbroker. She didn't take a stockbroker oath. She didn't take the oath of the stockbroker. So it's not like she really knew better. And she probably was just following the advice of her stockbroker, which she was doing. And they were all doing it. All the rich elites were doing insider trading. She was just doing what they were all doing. She was trying to be a woman in business. She was trying to compete with the guys. She was trying to be one of the guys. It was harder to be a woman in business for Martha Stewart growing up. It was much harder many years ago to be a woman in business. It's not as easy like it is now. So they took Martha Stewart, who was this wonderful icon, who made all of these wonderful recipes, who made America look better, smell better, taste better, and they put her in prison for a non-violent crime. And it was her first offense. It was her first offense, and they sent her to prison for a year for a non-violent crime. Meanwhile, they have all of these rich elite pedo Epsteins on the Epstein list, and they're being given a free pass. Rich elite pedos on an Epstein list are being given a free pass, while Martha Stewart, legendary icon, who was a wonderful, wonderful housewife turned businesswoman, hardworking housewife, hardworking businesswoman, they put her in prison for a year for a non-violent crime. They stuffed her in a prison full of violent criminals. Martha Stewart, a housewife turned businesswoman, who just did a little bit of insider trading because they were all doing it. All of the Hollywood rich elites were doing insider trading. All the politicians were doing insider trading. Heck, Donald Trump, there's a video of Donald Trump saying he's going to prosecute Nancy Pelosi for insider trading. And did he? No, he didn't. See, they're all guilty. They're all guilty. They're all liars. They're all in cahoots. The only one who doesn't seem to be in cahoots was Martha Stewart. Because the only people who actually get convicted are innocent people in America. Innocent people are the only ones who actually get convicted. Which, by the way, thank goodness that Canada doesn't have the death penalty. We're not crazy. Canada, we're not crazy because we know that you Americans, you always are biased, racist, homophobic, and you always put the wrong person in prison. You literally use the criminal justice system in America as a form of bullying. You weaponized. Even Trump said it. Even Donald Trump said it. You have the America has weaponized the criminal justice system. Imagine if Martha Stewart was an innocent woman on death row. Okay, like this is why Canada had the good sense. Canada had the good sense to abolish the death penalty because our even Canadian court systems are corrupt, but thank God Canada doesn't have the death penalty. Your American court systems are so corrupt. You Americans, like, you're all corrupt. Your court systems are corrupt. Your judges are corrupt. Donald Trump was even saying there should be an investigation into all of these criminal American judges and what they do. And they're way more guilty than Martha Stewart ever was. I didn't say all Americans, but I'm literally repeating what your master said. You all worship Donald Trump. Oh, the MAGA people, they all worship Donald Trump. Well, I'm repeating what he said. He literally said that they weaponized the American justice system. He's literally saying they use the American justice system as a weapon. It's not about putting innocent people or putting guilty people in prison. It's using they politicized the American justice system. They tried to send Trump to prison. Like, they literally politicized the American. That's how corrupt the American justice system is. They politicized it and they made it into a weapon. And Donald Trump, your leader. So this isn't just coming from some Canadian's mouth from Canada. This came from Donald Trump himself, your leader, your MAGA leader. He flat out said that your American justice system is corrupt. And thank God Canada doesn't have the death penalty. No matter, not just what they did to Martha Stewart. Imagine all of the innocent Americans that were put to death because of your corrupt American system. In fact, Tulsi Gabbard was on the Democratic stage, and there's a video clip of her. It's a video clip of Tulsi Gabbard, who's currently the director of national intelligence. Tulsi Gabbard, who's currently the director of national intelligence. There's a video of her debating Kamala Harris, and she flat out called out Kamala Harris. She said, You were the most corrupt attorney in all of California." There was a man on death row, an innocent man on death row, who Kamala Harris, she knew he was innocent. There was an innocent man on death row. Kamala Harris, Indian attorney from California, knew this man was innocent, and she still withheld the evidence that would have proved that he was innocent. If it were up to Kamala Harris, this guy would have got the death penalty. Thank goodness that the court system, someone in the court system, and got a guardian angel. At least there was one good person in the court system. Thank God, one guardian angel came forward and said, "Kamala Harris, you need to release this evidence because this evidence proves that this guy's innocent. This guy who's on death row, who's about to get the death penalty." Kamala Harris would have let him get the death penalty. And Tulsi Gabbard on the Democratic debate stage, this was televised. There's a video clip of Tulsi Gabbard calling out Kamala Harris. It's there. It's on YouTube. Tulsi Gabbard called out Kamala Harris and said, "You were the most corrupt criminal attorney in all of California, and you want to be president?" Kamala Harris should be in prison for that. Because of Kamala Harris, a innocent man almost got the death penalty. Not only should Kamala Harris have lost her legal license after that, but Kamala Harris should be in prison, not let alone become vice president for 4 years. So anything I'm repeating literally stuff said from your Americans yourselves. This isn't some crazy rant from a Canadian. I'm literally repeating stuff that was said by Americans. I'm literally repeating the corruption that was said by Americans. And you Americans, you have such a short attention span. You just forget everything. And all these people are going to forget about the Epstein list. See, Trump knows that Americans have a short attention span. You will forget everything. And so Trump is banking on the fact, Trump's literally mind the pun. Trump is banking on the fact that he's hoping that you Americans just forget about the Epstein list. Who's this Ozzy Crosby came in? Says, what is TDS? What does that mean? Okay, who's this guy? Daniel Blay. Daniel Blay said blame Canada. Okay. Well, Canada definitely didn't do slavery, that's for sure. And no one's trying to do a 9/11 on Canada, so no one hates Canada, so I don't know, blame Canada. Who's Brandy? Brandy came in and said, Canada would pariah if it wasn't for the USA. You can sit back quiet now. You know, I disagree with that, Brandy, and I'm going to pin your comment and I'm going to respond to it. I'll disagree. I'll tell you why I disagree with that. All of these years, people, some, not everyone, but a lot of people would say, oh, the United States protects Canada in case of a Russian invasion. Thank God for the United States protecting Canada, or else Russia would invade. I disagree. Actually, I think Russia protects Canada from an American invasion. And are the Russians getting on stage saying that they want to make Canada the 51st whatever province of Russia, the 56th Oblast, the 12th Oblast of Russia? Are Russians, is Vladimir Putin saying he wants to make Canada like a state of Russia? No. You know who's saying they want to take over Canada? The United States. So if anyone's protecting anyone from an invasion, I don't think that the Americans are protecting Canada from a Russian invasion. I think the Russians are protecting Canada from an American invasion. Because if it were up to America, and if Canada didn't have any defense weapons, if Canada didn't have any defense weapons, if Canada didn't have the support of Russia and China, the United States would have invaded Canada years ago. And Donald Trump would have made Canada the 51st state years ago. So no, I don't think that the United States protects Canada from an alleged Russian invasion. I think Russia protects Canada from an American invasion. Then all of these people coming in and being like, oh, you don't think Candace Owens looks like a man. Well, you know, Candace Owens, like, you know, she's going around saying the French president's wife's a man. What do you expect, Candace Owens? Like, if you actually try to pull an argument, like this would make you look 10 times worse, actually. If Candace Owens tries to say, oh, you're allowed to call the French president's wife a man, but you can't say Candace Owens look like a man, that would make Candace Owens, that would be like the worst public relations thing for Candace Owens. And I have a marketing background. I'm telling you, if Candace Owens actually tries to say that it's okay for her to say that the French president's wife looks like a man. And I'm not denying that she looks like a man. They do. They both look like guys, actually. They both look like men. They both do. So I'm not denying that the French president's wife looks like a man. But what I'm saying is if Candace Owens actually has the audacity to say, oh, you're allowed to say the French president's wife's a man, but you can't say Candace Owens looks like a man. Like, that would be the worst public relations, like, that would be a public relations disaster for Candace Owens. So if Candace Owens was smart and humble, she would just take it like a trooper. Because right now, she's literally about to start a war with France. And you don't want to mess with France. Those people are mean. Okay, like there's a reason why English Canadians don't get along with French Canadians. Like, it's not just the language barrier. It's not just the fact that they speak French and we only speak English and oh my God, oh no 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 pas, no pas. Like, it's not just the fact that the language barrier. Like, there's a reason why English Canadians and French Canadians had wars. We literally had wars. Quebec, our province, Quebec, almost separated. There was a referendum where the Quebec was so pissed off at English Canadians that the French Canadian side of Quebec almost separated from Canada. It was a referendum. It was really close. It was like a 50-50 split. So, like, Candace Owens literally about to start a war with France, an entire country, because of course America, though America loves starting wars with countries. Like, America had a war with Japan, America had a war with Germany, America had a war with Korea, America had a war with the natives, America had the war with slavery, America had a war with Vietnam, America had a Cold War with Russia, America is thinking about going to war with China, and now it looks like America is going to go to war with France. So America loves going to war with countries. So yeah, I think Candace Owens, you should be a humble trooper and just take it like a trooper. Okay? Because if you can dish out the criticism, you better be able to take the criticism. Okay, if you can't dish it, there's a famous saying in Canadian English, or it's probably American English too, anyways. And a Canadian English, if you can't dish it, don't. If you can't take it, anyways, whatever. Something, something. Don't dish it if you can't take it. Okay? So all of these people want to come in and say, oh, how dare you say that you think Candace Owens looked like a man. Candace Owens is literally saying that she thinks the French president's wife looks like a man. Like, and you want to come in and say, oh, it's okay for everyone to think that to call the French president's wife a man, but it's not okay to think Candace Owens might be a man. Like you look crazy saying that. You would look crazy. That would be such the biggest hypocrite. Like if you wanted the definition of hypocrite, if you wanted the definition of hypocrite, it would be that. It would be saying, oh, you can say that the French president's wife looks like a man, but God forbid you said that about Candace Owens. So I think Candace Owens should just be a bit humble with this one. Because she's about to literally start a war with France. And you don't want to start a war with France, okay? Germany, technically, really, Germany actually lost the war to France. Of course, initially the French people lost in the war because when Germany had a war with France, initially France lost, but eventually France won, right? Technically speaking, France actually eventually won the war, even though initially they lost. So the French people are tough. I wouldn't just the French president's wife's a man. They clearly have to be tough if the French president's wife's a man. They must be pretty tough if the French president's wife's a man too. Like, that's pretty tough. I wouldn't underestimate the French people. No, I don't think men can masturbate. What are you talking about? See, I can't stand people who make assumptions about people. I am a traditional conservative Canadian, okay? Look, I have a picture of a woman in the kitchen. What are you, I am a traditional conservative Canadian. I do not think that men can menstruate or whatever. Like, no. This woman comes in, Sarah, and she says, "Oh, this guy probably thinks men can menstruate." No, I don't. I don't want to menstruate. I don't want any female problems. I don't want to have to worry about how getting my period and stuff. Jesus, that would be awful. I don't want to be a woman. I don't want to get my period and have to get cramps and then blame it on my cramps when every time I'm late for work. I was late for work because, no, I don't want to do that. I like being a man, okay? In fact, I'm always trying to find ways to make my voice deeper because I've always been self-conscious about my voice. This is just the way I talk. I don't know why. I don't know how to make my voice deeper. Like, hey, I'm from Kentucky. Like I just don't know. Like, this is just my voice, okay? So I've always, if anything, I want to be more masculine. So no, I don't want to be a woman. I don't think men can menstruate, okay? And the only thing crazier than women is men that want to dress up like women. Like, that's crazy. It's crazy that people just cannot be happy with who they are. So this is protected. I am protected. I believe in God. This is my religious right to believe that God made everyone in his image. So if God made you a man and you decide you're going to change who you are going against God. And this is my religious belief. This is my religious belief. This is protected. My religious belief is protected. And I believe that God made everyone to be beautiful. And if you're a man, you should own it. If you're a woman, you should own it. But if you want to go against that, in a way, you're going against God. And so, no, I'm actually very conservative. I'm a conservative Canadian. And I do not agree with all of this weirdo stuff that they're doing. And I'm not defending the French president's wife. I'm not. A man, wife, whatever, thingamajig, whatever it is. I'm not defending the French president's thingy. I'm not defending the French president's thingy. What I'm saying is that Candace Owens, and this is an issue with the United States in general. What people don't like about the United States is the United States loves to dish it, but they can't take it. right? The United States loves to start wars with other countries. The United States did a war with Japan. The United States did a war with Germany. The United States did a war with the Middle East. But the United States loves to start wars, but they don't like it when other countries finish the wars. That's the issue. And Candace Owens, if she wants to go around doing a whole video series accusing the French president's wife of being a man, Candace Owens, you are now fair game for criticism. Sorry, but it's true. In fact, you already were, because technically you're a celebrity, and according to the law, you're a political figure, you're a celebrity. According to the law, the public has the right already to criticize you anyways. But especially the fact, Candace Owens, that you are going around accusing the French president's wife of looking like a man, that opens you up to criticism as well. So Candace Owens, if you can't dish it, then if you can't take it, then don't dish it. Okay? Martha Stewart can dish it, and Martha Stewart can take it, as you can see. She makes the best dishes. She makes the best apple pie. In fact, when I was growing up, I used to make Martha Stewart's apple pie recipe. Martha Stewart has an amazing, like, if you want to talk about a real American, if you want to talk about a real American, Martha Stewart is American as apple pie. She makes the best apple pie recipe. And also, if you've ever tried Martha Stewart's cherry pie, Martha Stewart has, anyways, Martha Stewart, she makes a lot of great, wonderful dishes. Her turkey stuffing, her wonderful pumpkin pie recipe. Martha Stewart is an icon. She even makes great pasta. You would think Martha Stewart was Italian because she makes the best pasta too. So Martha Stewart was a wonderful icon. And you Americans, like, you went after the only good... You, you went after Martha Stewart, who was like the most innocent of the guilty. Like, from all of the innocent of the guilty, Martha Stewart was the most innocent. She's not on some gross Epstein list. Martha Stewart's not on some gross Epstein list. She's not a freaking rich elite pedo, Martha Stewart. So if anyone, like, you would think that the American judges, but I'm starting to think that the American judges are also pedos. You would think that the American judges would say, hey, maybe you should focus all their energy on putting away rich elite pedos on the Epstein list. And why don't you maybe, I don't know, Martha Stewart, it was her first offense. It was Martha Stewart's first offense. It was a non-violent crime. And she's a housewife. She's a hardworking housewife turned businesswoman. Hardworking housewife turned businesswoman. She makes the best apple pie. Instead of sending Martha Stewart, a person who was never in trouble with the law before, it was her first offense. She she gives to the community. She's an upstanding member of the community. She does community service already. Martha Stewart donates to charity. She's a great woman. She does great recipes, apple pie. She makes great American cooking recipes. Instead of American judges throwing the book at Martha Stewart and maybe like consider being lenient towards her, since it's her first offense, she's never been to prison before, it's a non-violent crime. Everyone was doing insider trading. It's not like she was the only one that did insider trading. Heck, even her stockbroker, the one who gave her the tip, was doing insider trading, and he didn't go to prison. They were all doing insider trading. All of the rich elites were doing insider trading. Even Donald Trump said that he even did, there's a video on YouTube where Donald Trump says he wants to prosecute Nancy Pelosi, a politician who's been a politician for years, for insider trading. They were all doing insider trading. So you would think that American judges would say, hey, maybe instead of throwing the book at a woman, a housewife turned businesswoman, a hardworking woman, an upstanding member of the community who's never had gone to prison before, it's her first offense, maybe instead of sending her to prison for a year with a bunch of violent criminals, maybe they could just give her some community service. Since Martha Stewart loves doing community service anyways, they could give her a fine, which seems reasonable, a fine for insider trading. It's a non-violent crime. Give her a fine, give her community service. But no, they sent her to prison for a year for a non-violent crime. Martha Stewart, a housewife turned businesswoman, they sent her to prison for a year. And she had to go to prison with violent criminals. Meanwhile, they have a whole Epstein list full of rich elite pedos. Epstein, Wallowstein, whatever Steen, Moneysteen. They have all of these Harvey Steen, Weinstein. They have an Epstein list full of rich elite pedos, and no one's touching them. No one's sending them to prison. Martha Stewart must be pissed. This one woman, Sarah, she says, you have no basis to say that she looks like a man. First off, if she looks like a man, it's subjective. It's subjective. People look like things. Okay? Women look sometimes like men. Men sometimes look like women. It's subjective. Second, she's coming in, Sarah, saying, oh, she's pregnant. How would I know that she's pregnant? I don't like, doesn't make a difference. So you can turn around and say that the French president's wife, you could say that she's going through cancer. Like you could give a sob story. Oh, you can't make fun of the French president's wife either because she has cancer, or she was beat up really bad in martial arts class or something, or she accidentally one time she broke her wiener or whatever. Like, you can make all these sympathy stories too. Like, you can't. Oh, so what? So Candace Owens, that we're not allowed to to say the exact same thing. We're not allowed to say, "Hey, Candace Owens, you're saying the French president looks like a man." Well, you're one to talk. Like we can't say that. Oh, because Candace. First off, I didn't know Candace Owens was pregnant, and even if she was, it doesn't mean that Candace Owens has the right to just criticize other people, but then not be criticized herself. That's not fair. Is that the kind of world? Is that the kind of attitude she wants to teach the people? She wants to teach the people that she's allowed to criticize other people, but they're not allowed to criticize her back. And not just criticize her back, but literally throw the exact same question at her. Like the exact same question that she threw at the French president's wife, and to just throw it back on her. No, I don't think Candace Owens would be down for that. I actually have a bit of respect for Candace Owens, because I don't think that Candace Owens is a dictator who would say, oh, she's allowed to say that the French president's wife looks like a man, but no one's allowed to criticize Candace Owens. That would be a dictator move. And I actually have respect for Candace Owens, and I don't think that she would be down for that. Candace Owens is a person who has put up with a lot of criticism. She welcomes criticism. And right now, especially since she's about to start a war with France, and you definitely want to go to war with those people because the French, anyways, you definitely don't want to go to war with France. Especially since she's about to start a war with France, I think Candace Owens can take a little criticism. And it's not like she's from some innocent country like Sweden or those nice Swedish people. She's from America. Okay, America, the country that literally, like, they have a whole military industry complex where they're funded by war. Like, literally, the Americans, they have a whole military industrial complex where they're funded by war. Okay, these people are like war machines, the Americans. So she's not coming from this little innocent country in Europe where they're like so innocent and sweet and whatever, like Belgium, or I imagine the Belgian people to be innocent and sweet. I don't know. I'm just saying, she's not coming from some innocent small little country. She's coming from America. America, like the number one superpower in the world. So, like, if she's gonna dish out the criticism, she's gotta be able to take it. And no, I disagree with you, Sarah. Like, thank you for your comment. You are welcome to disagree with me, but I am welcome to disagree with you back. And and honestly don't think that it's fair that Americans, especially American social media influencers with all that influence, and maybe Candace Owens really is an agent of influence working for the CIA, and manipulating the masses. Maybe she really has worked for the CIA. But what I'm saying is, it's not fair that Americans, they always have this attitude. They can say, oh, we're going to make Canada the 51st state. The French president's wife's a man. Oh, China constantly does this and that, whatever. You know what I mean? It's not fair that Americans can constantly dish it, but they can't take it. So if you can dish it, then you better be able to take it. Okay? And besides, any Americans who want to make Canada the 51st state, we already belong to China. So sorry, you're too late on that one. China beat you to the punch. Canada already belongs to China. Canada, because China brings the money. China brings the Chinese food. China brings the beautiful massage parlors. Anyways, I don't go to those Asian massage parlors, but I'm just saying, China brings a lot of great stuff to Canada. Okay. I do like egg rolls, and I do like fried rice. That was like my favorite meal in college. I used to order fried rice and egg rolls, and they make these great what's it called, dumplings. Yeah. Anyways, and they also have really good noodles. Chicken fried rice noodles, and I love the sweet and sour sauce, and I always love the fortunes. I used to get these fortunes. They were really right on, actually. One time, my Chinese fortune in my Chinese meal, it said, You are going to have great prosperity in Canada. But if you go to the United States, they're going to kick your ass. No, no, seriously, actually, that happened. But anyways, no, China's great. And Canada, we've always been, owned by China pretty much. So I don't know where Trump's coming in saying he wants to make Canada the 51st state. We're already belong to China, dude. Sorry, too late. China owns us already. That's also why our Canadian test scores are so high, by the way, because China owns Canada and we got the best education in Canada. I do not go to Asian massage parlors. No, they're in Canada, but I was just listening. Okay, just I was listing things that China brought to Canada, like good things. Okay, I don't go to Asian massage parlors, but I'm telling you that a lot of straight, first off, I am a homosexual and I do not go to Asian massage parlors. But I can tell you that there are a lot of Canadian men, straight heterosexual Canadian men who love to go to Asian massage parlors, okay? I know them, I've talked to them. No, I didn't talk to the Asian massage parlors. I talked to the straight Canadian guys, and they love Asian massage parlors. So no, so don't come in here and say that I go to. No, I do not. Okay, I was saying that China has brought Canada all of these great things like Chinese food and Chinese money, and they taught us how to be better spies, espionage. China has done so much great for Canada. Okay, so if anyone owns Canada, if Canada is a state of any country, it's of China, not of the United States. So my point was that, hey, Americans, you say you want to take over Canada and make Canada the 51st state. Joke's on you. We already belong to China. So, which, by the way, you called me a pervert. Hello, Mr. Donald Trump. Isn't Donald Trump, doesn't he have like 16 ex-wives? Like, wasn't there a big scandal with Stormy Daniels? Whatever happened to Stormy Daniels? Wasn't there like a big scandal with Melania and you call me a pervert? Isn't Donald Trump named in the Epstein list, for God's sakes? Donald Trump's named in the freaking Epstein list. He had a thing with Stormy Daniels. He's got like 16 ex-wives, and you call me a pervert? Really? You know what's stereotypical? So Sarah said, "Oh, dude, you're saying so much stereotypical stuff." No, you know what's stereotypical? Trump saying, "Oh, those Canadians are so nice. We're just gonna say we're gonna make them the 51st state, and then the Canadians are gonna bend over because they're so nice. Because Canadians are known for being such nice Canadians that we can just say we're gonna make Canada the 51st state and take them over, and those nice Canadians will just bend over because they're so nice." No, that's stereotypical. Trump's assuming that all Canadians are all nice, as if we're just going to bend over for him and just let him make Canada the 51st state of the United States of America. That's stereotypical. There's nothing wrong with Chinese food. I love Chinese food. What's wrong with saying I love Chinese food? Like, seriously, say I said stereotypical stuff. No, the stereotypical stuff is Americans thinking that all Canadians are so nice. Oh, they're such nice Canadians. We could just walk all over them. No, you can't just walk all over Canada. Unless you have a visa, unless you have a tourist visa, then you can walk all over Canada. But unless you have a tourist visa, you could not just walk all over Canada. What's this guy? Um, yes, so James Arnold. Thank you, James Arnold. I've seen James Arnold in my life before. He said, I'm going to replace the pin message. James Arnold said, release the Epstein files. Yes, 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 release the Epstein files. I've been saying this for a while, release the Epstein files. They will literally arrest a person for looking suspicious. A person in America can be arrested by the American police for looking suspicious, a suspicious brother or a suspicious sister. I don't know why I said it like that. I'm not British. Anyways, a suspicious brother or a suspicious sister, that's how they say in Britain. Anyways, a suspicious person, the American police will literally arrest a suspicious person in America. Meanwhile, they have a whole Epstein list of alleged rich elite pedos, like verifiable. They can do a full investigation. They have a whole list of rich elite pedos. That's pretty suspicious. You know what's pretty suspicious, American police? You know what's pretty suspicious, Pam Bondi? Because you know Pam Bondi, she looked like a woman who probably called the cops on suspicious brothers. You know what's pretty suspicious, Pam Bondi? A bunch of rich elite pedos who get on a plane to go to Epstein Island. That's suspicious. So if you want to arrest anyone for being suspicious, Miss Pam Bondi, instead of calling the cops on the brother in the neighborhood who's just the gardener, be like, I'm just the gardener. Why are you calling the cops on me? Instead of calling the cops on a suspicious brother in your white picket fence neighborhood, and your white picket fence neighbor, instead of calling the cops on a suspicious brother, Pam Bondi, why don't you call the cops immediately on the whole Epstein list you have of rich elite pedos on the Epstein list going to Epstein Island? That's pretty suspicious. Heck, there's even been Canadians who've been arrested for being suspicious. Can you believe that? It's like I'm walking around in this the White House, going through the secret government White House files, and suddenly these Americans come in and be like, what's a Canadian doing in our White House government secret files going through our stuff? And I'm like, whoa, like you hate Canadians or something? I thought Canadians and Americans were supposed to be allies. And now, me as a Canadian, I'm not allowed to go through the White House secret government files? Seriously? No, I'm just joking. No, I've never been to the White House. I'm just joking. But seriously, they arrest people for looking suspicious. They literally arrest innocent people just for looking suspicious. Mostly brothers and sisters, they arrest for looking suspicious. Meanwhile, they have a whole Epstein list full of rich elite pedos who go to Epstein Island, and Pam Bondi be like, no. This is literally what Pam Bondi said to the reporter. She thought she was defending herself. She said she just wanted to clarify that the Epstein files were on her desk, waiting to be reviewed. Honey, the first thing you do when you hear that you have an Epstein list of rich elite pedos on your desk, you drop everything you're doing and you prosecute those rich elite pedos. But she's like, no, Pam Bondi said, nope, they were on her desk waiting to be reviewed. She had a nail appointment. Pam Bondi had to get her hair done and a nail appointment. She had a trip to Disneyland. Pam Bondi, you expect Pam Bondi to cancel her trip to Disneyland and just drop everything she's doing to go and prosecute the rich white elite pedos on the Epstein list? Pam Bondi, she had stuff to do. She was busy getting her nail done. She had a sushi appointment. She was getting sushi. And Pam Bondi got a massage appointment. She had more pressing matters with her massage appointment. And Pam Bondi was busy calling the cops on a suspicious brother in her white picket fence neighborhood. That's why Pam Bondi had the Epstein files on her desk waiting to be reviewed. Oh, but as soon as she sees a suspicious brother in her neighborhood, in her white picket fence neighborhood, she calls the cops right away on the gardener, and she thinks he's suspicious because he's the brother. But she has a whole Epstein list on her desk of rich elite white pedos, and Pam Bondi's like, oh, yeah, really busy right now. Pam Bondi, such a big schedule. Sorry, it's gonna have to take months. Sorry, it's not time to review that yet. Are you crazy, honey? And you thought you were defending yourself when you said that to the reporter? Oh, just to clarify, they were waiting on her desk to be reviewed. She has a whole list of ritually pedos, Epstein pedos, Rosenthal, all of them, right? Epstein, Weinstein, Harvestein, Moneystein, whatever. She has all of these Wolowitz. She has all of these rich elite pedos on her desk, a whole list of them, Epstein list. And Pam Bondi, she's like, nah, she's busy. She's got things to do. She got to get her nails done. And she's busy calling the cops on a suspicious brother in her neighborhood. Pam Bondi's really busy. She's got a trip to Disneyland, Pam Bondi. So seriously, you know, they made all of those legally blonde movies, but I honestly think Pam Bondi is illegally blonde. like like Donald Trump hired like legally blonde Pam Bondi to defend him, but I actually think she's like illegally blonde because I really think that she's involved in the Epstein cover up. It's very obvious that Pam Bondi, in my opinion, is involved in the Epstein cover up. So, yes, release the Epstein files. Release those Epstein files. What is the holdup? If they saw a suspicious brother at a 7-Eleven, they would send 20 police cars right away. Be like, hello, I would like to support, I would like to report suspicious brother in a, 20 police cars right away. Hold on, I even say where it was. 20, like literally, they arrest people for looking suspicious in America. You know what's suspicious, Pam Bondi? A whole Epstein list full of rich elite pedos who go on trips to Epstein Island. That's suspicious. Not only is that suspicious, that's like slam dunk evidence. You have a whole list of them. If you want slam dunk evidence, that's pretty slam dunk. That's like you got a list of them. But then but she's too busy calling the cops on a suspicious brother in a white neighborhood. So like that is the definition of like hypocrisy. No, like that's the definition of stupidity. That's the definition of stupidity, crazy, like wow, like I can't even believe the nerve of people, the audacity. But I wouldn't go to the White House. Anyways, if I was a spy working for Canada, which I'm not, but if I was a Canadian spy, I wouldn't go to the White House. First off, after Bill Clinton did 8 years in that White House, knowing what that Bill Clinton stuck his thing in everything, you want to know who a pervert was? Bill Clinton was a pervert. Bill Clinton stuck his wiener in everything in the White House. So if I went to the White House as a Canadian, I'd be like, first, we're gonna have to disinfect the whole Oval Office. The whole Oval Office needs to be disinfected, because Bill Clinton was there for 8 years. And second, we're gonna need a fresh coat of paint. Let's make the White House even whiter. Let's make the American White House even whiter with a fresh coat of paint. Okay, because it's probably dirty and stanky after Bill Clinton was there for 8 years, doing God knows what. So if you want to know who a pervert is, instead of calling me a pervert, I think Bill Clinton's a pervert because he literally stuck his wiener in everything. Okay, he stuck his wiener in every hot dog bun, at the stadium, every hot dog bun at the stadium. He stuck his wiener in every hot dog bun at the stadium. Okay, Bill Clinton was a mega pervert, if anyone was a pervert, and a liar. He lied about it too. So no, if I was ever a Canadian spy, in fact, actually, Martha Stewart would be perfect to clean up the White House. Literally clean up the White House, literally disinfect the walls, disinfect the Oval Office, disinfect the whole White House, everything. But no, if I was a Canadian spy, I probably wouldn't go to the White House. No. I don't know where I would go. I'd go someplace good. What happened to Area 51? Those aliens? Like those aliens, what happened to those aliens? We got to investigate that, the Area 51. Because I would love to meet the aliens. I could just imagine the aliens probably have a horrible impression of Americans. Sorry, I meant humans. I was going to say, I could just imagine that the aliens could just hate humans. They must think we're evil. They must think humans are evil. They think humans are stupid. Like the aliens, after meeting Trump, imagine Trump with the aliens. Imagine if Trump was our ambassador to the aliens. No wonder the aliens want to wage war on America. Or, I mean, wage war on planet Earth. You see all of those alien movies with the aliens, they always want to kill Killed. The aliens always want to destroy. The aliens always want to destroy the planet Earth. Okay, you see all of these alien movies, these horrific alien movies with all of these aliens. You remember Sigourney Weaver and the aliens movies, and the aliens, they're all scary and they want to come to planet Earth and annihilate planet Earth. Like, Jesus, if if Trump was our ambassador to the aliens, no wonder the aliens hate us. We need to have, like, we actually need to find these aliens at Area 51. We need to make peace. We need to make peace with these aliens, okay? And that's how we're going to prevent the aliens from destroying planet Earth, because we are pretty much close to destruction at this point. I mean, Canada, but we're pretty chill though. I mean, Canada, we are in a sense American allies, because if you look at it this way, if Donald Trump had said that he wants to make North Korea the 51st state, what do you think would have happened if Donald Trump said he wants to make North Korea the 51st state, or Russia or China? Those countries don't play around, those countries. The North Koreans would literally go ballistic, mind the pun. The North Koreans would go ballistic if Donald Trump said he wanted to make North Korea the 51st state. So we're pretty chill. Like Canadians, there is some truth to that. We are nice, but don't mess with us. We're nice until you mess with us. So yes, of course, and that's pretty much true for every country. Like most people, most countries are nice until you mess with them. But Canada, we're pretty chill, because if Donald Trump had said he wanted to make North Korea the 51st state, they would have gone ballistic. They would have gone the China, if Trump said he wanted to make China the 51st state, if he said that about Russia, well, we know what the Russians are capable of. So, like, hey, Donald Trump, you're lucky that we're pretty chill, Canada, because we could have reacted much worse, you know? By the way, is California still on fire? That was pretty sad. I remember a few months after Donald Trump said he wanted to make Canada the 51st state, suddenly I remember randomly that suddenly, for no reason, I can't think of a reason why, but suddenly a few months later, California was on fire. So I'm just wondering, how's California doing? Are you guys still on fire over there, or? Actually, if anyone could be a 51st state of America, it could probably be Japan, right? Because I mean, in World War II, America kind of already made Japan their, be when America dropped two nukes on Japan. So really, I mean, America really like owned Japan. Like, and apparently, I always wondered that, like, why is Japan allies with America? Like, if America dropped two nukes on my country, I would be pissed forever. Like, I'd be like, where's my grandfather? Where's grandfather Yamagoto? Where's grandfather Yamaguchi? Where's my grandfather? What happened to our grandfather? What happened to grandfather Mitsubishi? What happened to grandfather Yamasan? Like, I'd be like, I'd still be mad. I'd be like, what happened to our grandfather? Oh, that's right. The Americans dropped two nukes on our country. Like, and now Japan is supposed to be number one allies with America. It seems like Japan has Stockholm syndrome. I think Japan should be allies with China and Russia and Canada. I think Japan should be allies with Canada, Russia, and China. Like, why would they be allies with a country that dropped two nukes on them in World War II? So, and the Japanese people are so nice. I was in Japan several years ago, and they have sushi, and they have video games, and they have these wonderful kimonos, the Japanese people. They're such nice people, and they're brilliant. They're so intelligent. The Japanese technology, they're going into space, outer space. They got robots building other robots. Japan is such a great culture. They're such beautiful people. They're so nice. They got sushi, video games. And I kept thinking to myself, why would America drop two nuclear bombs on these people? These Japanese people are so nice. Why would America attack these Japanese people? They're so nice. And I went to Germany a few years ago. I went to Germany, and Germans, they got Oktoberfest. They got sausages and beer, and they're so nice. And Oktoberfest is really great. And they got the women, beautiful women with big jugs of beer. They got men dancing like it's like pretty much like a literally like a sausage fest. If you think of a sausage fest, that's Germany and Oktoberfest, because Oktoberfest they make these great, wonderful sausages. And anyways, so. I kept thinking to myself, these Germans are also so nice. Why would America fight with these people? America just loves to fight with everyone. Okay, and sure enough, America saying they want to make Canada the 51st state. We're not pushovers. Okay, you can't do like Canada. We're not total pushovers. We're not France. Okay, sorry. No, but seriously, eventually the French did win the war in World War II. They lost initially the France lost to Germany in World War II, but eventually, technically speaking, France did win the whole war. So if you lose a battle, you win the war, right? So France technically did win at the end, right? But anyways, yeah, we're not pushovers. United States, Canada, we're not a bunch of pushovers up here. So we're nice, but don't mess with us. We're nice, but don't mess over us. We're nice, but don't mess with us. And that's really any country. And now America is messing with France. For real, America is messing with France. And if you think of it this way, okay, the word espionage, doesn't that sound like a French word? Doesn't the word literally for espionage, it's a French word. It's like the French people invented the word for espionage. So be really careful with doing these political attacks, these leaked attacks about the French presidents and stuff. Be very careful doing this with a country that literally the word espionage is like a French word. And you're messing with a country that is like it's as if it's as if they invented the word espionage, which I'm pretty sure espionage is a French word, French origin. It sounds French. Sounds like espionage, like ménage à trois, like espionnage à trois. It sounds French, like faux de pas. Espionage sounds like a French word. So you're literally messing with a country that invented the word for espionage. So Americans, you need to be careful when you're dealing with France and Germany and Japan and Canada and Cuba and Mexico and California. You need to be really careful when you're dealing with all of America's enemies, pretty much. So. And by the way, just to be clear, I never denied that the French president's wife's a man. What I'm saying is that exposing all of these secrets about these world leaders, it's like you're playing with fire. No, of course, yeah, it looks like a man. Of course, the French president's wife looks like a man, probably is a man, of course. I'm not denying that. What I'm saying is the United States has a history of picking fights with countries around the world. They want to make Canada the 51st state. They dropped two nukes on Japan. They fought with Germany. They had a Cold War with Russia. They had a war with Korea. They had a war with Vietnam. They're thinking about going to war with China. Good luck with that one. They had a war. They had slavery. America. They still stole the land from the natives. America is constantly picking fights with countries around the world. That's what I'm talking about. Of course, I think, yeah, the French president's wife does look like a man and probably is a man. No one's denying that. Okay, let's go to Tim. Tim's comment. I'm going to pin his comment. He says, this is what Tim says. He says, Americans don't need to worry about the S word, sh. Americans don't need to worry about sh. We don't need to be careful or really careful about anything or the largest military on this planet. I know, so come get some. Sure, America might be the largest military on this planet, and America did defeat Japan. America did defeat Germany. America did defeat no, America lost to Vietnam. Right? Okay, anyways, America did defeat a lot of these countries. America even caused Russia to their whole economy collapse after the Cold War. When the Cold War ended with Russia, Russia's whole Soviet Union collapsed because of America interference. So yes, America has defeated all of these countries, but what happens when these all of these countries start working together against America? Because of course, America, the biggest bully in the world, they can take on every country one by one. But what if it's like all of these countries decide to get together and form a big, giant, I won't say gang, because gang is such an overrated word, gang. Sounds so impersonal, gang. What if all of these countries formed a big club of countries that are like want to defend themselves against the United States. So now instead of it just being the United States versus Japan, or United States versus Germany, or United States versus Russia, now it's the United States versus 100 countries. So do you think the United States, with as big as an army you have, you think that you Americans can take on 100 countries all at once? You think you could take on Japan and China and, oh man, Japan and China working together, that would be interesting. You think you can take on France, Germany, Canada, Australia, Britain? Well, I think the Australians are, I don't know whose side the Australians are. The Australians are like in the middle of nowhere, but anyways. You think you could take on Russia and China and Japan and Germany and Venezuela and Cuba and Mexico, you think, and the whole Middle East, all those Middle Eastern countries, you think you can take on all the countries at once? I don't think so. So as much as Americans are cocky, and I hate to, it's okay to be cocky. I mean, the French president's wife is clearly very cocky, so it's okay to be cocky. But you Americans, you might have the biggest army in the world, and you can take on every country individually, but not when they start working together. Because you better believe when America says that they want to make Canada the 51st state, them's fighting words. Them's fighting words. And Canada has allies. Canada, everyone loves Canada. No one did 9/11 on Canada. No one's trying to do terrorist attacks on Canada. Everyone loves Canada. Canada's got a lot of allies. So if America says they want to make Canada the 51st state, you are doing fighting words, and you are egging on like all of Canada, not only Canada, but all of Canada's allies as well. So keep that in mind. But yeah, they need to release the Epstein files. And now, right, then they released the Martin Luther King files. They so they did so they need to release the Epstein files. They released the JFK files. They released the Martin Luther King files. Is it gonna like they released the JFK files like 70 years later? They released the Martin Luther King files like 70 years later. So like 70 years later, they released the JFK files, John F. Kennedy files. 70 years later, they released the Martin Luther King files. And now, are we going to have to wait 70 years for the Epstein files to be released? I don't know about you, but I don't got 70 years. I don't even know if I even got 7 years. So you Americans need to release the Epstein files now. We can't wait 70 years for these Epstein files. We had to wait 70 years for the JFK files, 70 years approximately 70 years. We had to wait approximately 70 years for the JFK files, approximately 70 years for the Martin Luther King files. Don't make us wait 70 years, approximately 70 years for the Epstein files as also. Okay, you Americans, you got to release the Epstein files now. I'll tell you what though, let's change the subject for a second to something more lighthearted. So let's talk about comedy for a second. Let's talk about comedy. Um, I think it's hilarious that they're doing the Comedy Central roast of Will Smith. So you remember Will Smith? He slapped the crap out of Chris Rock right on stage because Chris Rock, you say something offensive about someone's wife, right? So now we're going back to the French Canadian. Well, the French Canadians, I mean. Now we're going back to the French president's wife, Emmanuel Macron's wife, who's a man, right? If you say something offensive about someone's wife, what happens? Will Smith comes and slaps you, right? So Will Smith comes and slaps you if you say something offensive about his wife, right? Jada Pinkett Smith. So Chris Rock said something offensive about Jada Pinkett Smith, and then Will Smith smacked the what out of Chris Rock on stage in front of everyone. So obviously saying something offensive about someone's wife, like Candace Owens is saying about the French, even though I agree, she definitely looks like a man. The French president's wife looks like a man. I'm not disagreeing with the fact that she does look like a man and probably is a man. I'm not disagreeing with that. What I'm saying is if you start a war with France, right? So anyways, but no, what I was really talking about the fact is Will Smith, there's a Comedy Central roast coming out. It's the next Comedy Central roast. You know how they did the Comedy Central roast of Donald Trump? They did the Comedy Central roast of Justin Bieber. They did the Comedy Central roast of Pamela Anderson. They did the Comedy Central roast of William Shatner. Anyways, so Roseanne Barr. They did the Comedy Central roast of Roseanne Barr. So anyways, this year they're coming out with the Comedy Central roast of Will Smith. Now, you know what I think would be hilarious is if next year they did the Comedy Central roast of Fox News. That would be really interesting because Fox News has always been not a joke, but yeah, a joke. Fox News has always been like a joke to everyone around the world. Like I swear to God, like you go to CNN, you go to watch CNN, and CNN's like, we're now talking about global warming in three different hemispheres and the effects of global warming on the human populace. You go to Fox News and it's like black people. What's the topic of CNN? The topic of CNN is world trade and diplomacy among 5 different countries discussing world trade issues, including climate change. That's like the topic of CNN. You go to Fox News. What's the topic of Fox News? Black people and Mexicans. So it's like literally, Fox News has been like a joke around the world. Literally, Tucker Carlson was fired from Fox News. Megyn Kelly was fired from Fox News. All of these white supremacists were fired from Fox News. So basically, Fox News has been like a joke around the world. And I think it would be hilarious if Fox News was the next to be roasted on the Comedy Central roast of Fox News, because they would have material. And just imagine Dana Bash from CNN and MSNBC and Rachel Maddow from MSNBC and even the clowns at ABC News. Imagine all of these reporters coming together. It's like a big roast of the journalists, a big journalist media roast. And Donald Trump, he's always saying fake news. I agree. I agree with Donald Trump. A lot of those journalists are fake news. They do fake news. The journalists, the media, they always do fake news. So imagine if they had the Comedy Central roast of Fox News. That would be hilarious. And I would love to see Tucker Carlson get back on stage with Megyn Kelly. They could have Candace Owens, because I'm pretty sure Candace Owens also raped. Didn't she come from Fox News as well? They could have Candace Owens, they could have Tucker Carlson, they have Megyn Kelly, they could have even Dana Bash from CNN, they could have, imagine a Rachel Maddow from MSNBC. Rachel Maddow would be, imagine Joy Reid. Imagine Joy Reid. So I think it would be funny next year if they did the Comedy Central roast of Fox News and they roasted the media, literally roasted the media, because they need to roast the media because the media, they are liars, and Trump was right when he was saying fake news, fake news, fake news. So next year, I think they should do the Comedy Central roast of Fox News and bring all the best comedians. And it'd be interesting to hear Tucker Carlson roast everyone, especially, and actually, it would be extremely amazing if they had, what's that person? Who's that big journalist right now that got into trouble recently? Anyways, there's a big journalist that got in trouble recently. But anyways, it would be amazing if they had all of these great journalists on Fox News or on the Comedy Central roast of Fox News. And anyway, so yeah. Oh, and the ladies from The View. That's it. Sorry, I don't really think of them as journalists. I think of them more as like middle-aged troublemakers. But the ladies from the View, wow! Imagine Whoopi Goldberg, like Whoopi Goldberg. Imagine her roasting Tucker Carlson. Like Whoopi Goldberg doesn't don't like Tucker Carlson. Imagine Joy Behar. Imagine Anna Navarro. Imagine all the ladies from the View. Imagine them on the Comedy Central roast of Fox News. Like they would let them have it. Like the ladies from the View. They've let the world have it for years. And imagine if it was the Comedy Central roast of Fox News. The ladies from The View, they would let everyone have it there. So yeah, they should next year they should do the Comedy Central roast of Fox News. And I must admit, I do kind of like Megyn Kelly. So it's not to knock her. I actually like Megyn Kelly. So it'd be nice to see her back again on a stage full of journalists. Because we know Megyn Kelly left journalism a long time ago to start her rants. So but I do like Megyn Kelly's rants. They're not really journalism, but I like Megyn Kelly's point of view. And that would be interesting to see. And it was pretty. You remember when Megyn Kelly said that she was famous? She had a whole fame. It's on YouTube. There was a whole famous video. They made fun of her for it. Remember when Megyn Kelly asserted and she insisted that Santa Claus was white? Remember when Megyn Kelly insisted that Santa Claus must be white? Remember when she did that? So, like, everyone in Canada was laughing, or at A-House, everyone in Canada was laughing. That YouTube clip, just so you know about Canada, that YouTube clip of Megyn Kelly insisting that Santa Claus is white, it went viral in Canada. It was like a sensation. Everyone was laughing their asses off. So this is how like we became to know about Fox News. Like this is how we suddenly know that Fox News was like they had some screws loose. So I was like, oh my God, these people will say anything. Who let these people on television? They'll say anything. So who's this guy comes in and says, oh, no, I didn't say that Santa Claus is white. Megyn Kelly insisted. Megyn Kelly, who was fired from Fox News, who now has the Megyn Kelly show, who's a sensation. Megyn Kelly. Megyn Kelly is the one who insisted that Santa Claus is white. Dude, I'm from Canada. I didn't say that. I didn't say that Santa Claus is white. I never insisted that Santa Claus is white. Okay? Megyn Kelly, your American news anchor from Fox News who has the Megyn Kelly show. She insisted in a very public YouTube video that's available that was seen by billions. She's the one who insisted that Santa Claus is white, not me, dude. So don't put that on me. Don't accuse me of insisting that when it was Megyn Kelly who insisted that. All I know is thank God Santa Claus' name is not Epstein. That's all I know. Thank God Santa Claus is like, okay, now you're gonna go meet Mr. Santa Claus, Wallowitz, Epstein, Rosenthal, Wallowitz. I don't know many names. Wallowitz, Epstein. Anyways, thank God Santa Claus is not Epstein. That's for sure. Man, to think if Epstein Island, if they have Christmas on Epstein Island, oh my God. You Americans, you guys need to just arrest the bad Americans. Like if the good Americans don't arrest the bad Americans, if you just let this Epstein list fly, see Americans, you guys have these short attention spans. Donald Trump, he's trying to, when Donald Trump was saying that why are you guys still talking about the Epstein list? Because Donald Trump knows that Americans have short attention spans. You guys forget like stuff that happened like 5 minutes ago. So Donald Trump was banking on the fact, hoping on the fact that Americans just have a short attention span and forget everything that Trump said, that Hillary said. And you guys, you Americans, you also forgot, by the way, that for years leading up to the first time Trump was president, Trump promised, he said he was going to send Hillary to prison. So Hillary Clinton, who a lot of people say has ties to the Epstein list, etc. Hillary Clinton, remember what Trump's first campaign promise was? You couldn't turn on the television in Canada without hearing how Donald Trump was going to send Hillary to prison. Nasty woman, she's a nasty woman, and Donald Trump wants to send that nasty woman Hillary to prison. You couldn't turn on Canadian television without hearing Donald Trump. And there was literally groups. There was MAGA people. There was literally protests. There was all these people chanting, send Hillary to prison, send Hillary to prison. It was literally, we saw like groups of them, large groups. And so what did Trump do? As soon as Trump was in office, did he send Hillary to prison? No. So that was the first campaign promise that Donald Trump reneged on. He promised he was going to send Hillary to prison. We literally saw on television millions of people chanting, send Hillary to prison, send her to prison, because of Donald Trump saying she's a nasty woman. He wants to send her to prison. Did he send her to prison? No. As soon as he became president, he probably, I don't know, drank champagne, ate some donuts, went to Epstein Island. Like, no, he didn't. He didn't do that campaign promise. And then the second major campaign promise was Donald Trump said he was going to take good care and release the Epstein files. Did he? No. Another second campaign promise Donald Trump didn't do. Maybe the swamp monster doesn't have any intention of cleaning the swamp. Maybe the swamp monster doesn't want to clean the swamp. Just saying. He had every opportunity to do it. He can release the Epstein files. He could send Hillary to prison. Did he? No. But instead, who did they pardon? Who did they pardon of all people? Hunter Biden, Joe Biden's son, who has crack up his crack. Instead of releasing the Epstein files, instead of sending Hillary to prison like they promised, what happens? They pardon Joe Biden's son, Hunter Biden, who has crack up his crack. That's who they pardon. That's who they like. Which, by the way, of course, I know that Joe Biden was on the other side. Joe Biden was against Donald Trump, obviously. And, they're saying that Joe Biden has dementia. If that's true, that's really sad. If Joe Biden, the former American president, really has dementia, that's really sad. But I will say that when it came time to pardon Joe Biden's son, Hunter Biden, he snapped out of that dementia real fast. I mean, if Joe Biden really has dementia, which is very sad if that's the case, when it came time to pardon Hunter Biden, Joe Biden's son, Joe Biden snapped out of that dimension real fast to pardon his son. So if that's dementia, that's an interesting case of dementia, where you have allegedly, you're trying to make America feel sorry for you after you destroyed the economy. After you destroy the American economy, you're trying to make America feel sorry for you. And if Joe Biden really has dementia, that's awful. That's sad. I'm sorry about that. If Joe Biden really has dementia. But that's an interesting kind of dementia when, as soon as it came time to pardon Hunter Biden, Joe Biden's son, suddenly he snapped out of that dementia real fast to pardon his son, Hunter Biden, who had crack up his crack. Don't call me a pervert. Don't call me a degenerate. I'm not the one who had crack up his crack. That was Hunter Biden had crack up his crack. I don't do drugs, by the way. I'm very anti-drug. I don't even drink alcohol. And I don't even smoke cigarettes. No, I don't do none of that. I used to smoke cigarettes when I was younger, like in my 20s, just as a social smoker, but that's literally all I've ever done. I do not do drugs. I do not smoke cigarettes anymore. I do not drink alcohol, nothing. I am very anti-drug. I do not do drugs. No. Let's go to the comments because I haven't gone to the comments in a while. No, you know what we really need to talk about? First off, someone came in and said, uh, why are we talking about Hunter anyway? Can we talk about why Trump is protecting traffic? They're all bad. I'm not pro if you actually think from this rant that I'm pro Democrat or pro Republican, I think they're all corrupt. I think all the politicians are corrupt. So let's be really clear about that. So they're all corrupt. Trump needs to release the Epstein files, but the Democrats are also corrupt. They're all corrupt. In fact, I think an independent should run. I think Americans, there was a Simpsons episode. There was a big famous Simpsons. I used to love watching The Simpsons, especially the 90s. The Simpsons in the 90s. I'm in my 30s. The Simpsons in the 90s was the best. And there was a Simpsons episode. It was the Halloween episode where it was like the two presidents, the Democratic nominee and the Republican nominee, they were abducted by aliens or something, Kane and Kodos. And I think it was George Bush versus Bill Clinton, or it was Al Gore. It was either George Bush versus Bill Clinton or Al Gore or something, and it was one of those three. And it was basically with the gist of the Simpsons episode, the Halloween episode, which was it was a Democrat American president versus the Republican American president, and because they were abducted by aliens, and suddenly because they were really now two aliens, they were actually brothers. They were brothers, the two presidents from either side, and they were holding hands. And in the Simpsons episode, the guy goes and says, "Sir, I really don't think you should be holding hands with your political opponent." And this was a nod to the fact that the both parties are in cahoots with each other. They're corrupt. The Democrats and Republicans are the two sides of the same coin. They're both corrupt. And then at the end of the episode, at the end of the Simpsons episode, which this was an iconic, famous Simpsons episode, Halloween Simpsons episode, the American people discover that both, I think it was either George Bush and Bill Clinton or Al Gore, one of those two, both of the presidents were actually aliens, and they were on the same side. And then they're like, "Oh my God, like, what are we gonna do?" We're like, and then one of the guys says, "Oh, we should vote for an independent. We should vote for a third party candidate. Like, we should vote for an independent. We should vote for a third party candidate." And then the alien, he says, "Go ahead, Americans, like, throw your vote away," because they know that the independents never win. Like, independents have no chance of winning to be president. But really, we need an independent. When the Democrats are so corrupt, when the Republicans are so corrupt, America, you guys need an independent to be president. And you need to figure out how to make an independent your next president. I think you should pick a scientist. I think you should pick a scientist like Neil deGrasse Tyson. Oh, my role models growing up, my role models were not Britney Spears and Kim Kardashian. My role models were not even, I mean, I did like The Apprentice with Donald Trump, but my role models were not politicians. My role models were not celebrities. My role models, well, I did like Martha Stewart, but my role models growing up, I don't do insider trading. I just like their cooking. Anyways, my role models growing up were scientists, mathematicians. I am a scientist. I identify as a scientist. I am a scientist. I'm a mathematician. Albert Einstein, Nikola Tesla, Stephen Hawking, Thomas Edison, Neil deGrasse Tyson, even Bill Nye the Science Guy. Who knows what he's up to right now? I always love science. Even Madame Curie. There's even a woman one. Madame Curie. All of the scientists, I am a big fan of the scientists. Brian Greene, right? Brian Greene's a famous scientist. And especially, I think if you guys took a scientist, like for example, Neil deGrasse Tyson, who's a famous astrophysicist, if you took a scientist like Neil deGrasse Tyson and made him your next president, heck, you'd be making a scientist, like a brilliant astrophysicist, president of America, especially when you have NASA and you have SpaceX and you want to try to encourage people to become astronauts. That would be great. We could have like another space race. It'd be great if you had Neil deGrasse Tyson, a brilliant astrophysicist. Or, and I really shouldn't say this because she might actually run for president. I actually I'm not really a big fan of her, or if America badly wants a female president, there is also a female scientist who I think probably could have a chance at winning the election, since she's like, would be totally pro-Israel. If you could just imagine a female candidate that would be pro-Israel, it would be the Mayim Bialik. I hope I'm saying her name right. Mayim Bialik, who is from the Big Bang Theory. And she literally What she was in Blossom. I never watched that TV show Blossom. I never thought it was funny. I never watched it. She went back to get her neuroscience degree. She has a degree in neuroscience. That is definitely impressive. This is no knock. This is in no way knocking her. She's definitely very impressive and accomplished. Mayim Bialik. She has a degree in neuroscience, which if you have a degree in neuroscience, you probably could be president, right, of the United States of America. And then she went back on the Big Bang Theory. I never really found the Big Bang Theory funny. I mean, the jokes were fine. If they want to make jokes about scientists, mathematicians, it's okay. I am very liberal with free speech. I'm very pro free speech. So if they can make jokes about whatever they want, I just actually didn't really find them to be that funny. I thought Friends was more funny. I thought the sitcom Friends was more funny. So anyways, Mayim Bialik, who has a degree in neuroscience, she actually, if she ran for president, which by the way, I know she's very pro-Israel anyways, she would, that would be really interesting. Let's throw a neuroscientist in the ring. They have that big Democratic stage of clowns when they have all those Democratic nominee clowns, presidential clowns, except for Tulsi Gabbard. I actually like Tulsi Gabbard, who's currently the director of national intelligence. Why not throw in some scientists on the stage? Why not have an astrophysicist on the debate stage? Why not have a neuroscientist on the debate stage? I know you're going to have AOC, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, because Canada, oh my God, Canada wants her to be the next president of the United States. They can't stop talking about AOC. For some reason, AOC, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, she is like the number one pick for Canada. Canada, if Canada wants an American president, then Canada wants AOC, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, to be the next president of the United States of America. I don't know why. I don't think AOC is funny. I think she's kind of corrupt. She's a corrupt Democrat. But anyways, Canada wants her. Like, it's kind of gross, but Canada literally has been like grooming AOC. Well, you know what I mean? In the different sense, grooming, not in the creepy sense. But Canada has been really trying to get AOC. They would vote for her 100%. If Canadians could vote in elections, if Canadians could vote in American elections, which, I mean, it hasn't stopped Canadians probably before from voting in American elections. No offense, but Canadians are pretty sneaky like that. But anyways, if Canadians could vote in American elections, they probably would vote for AOC, honestly, because they want her. For some reason, they think she's going to be good for Canada if AOC, Alexandria Cortez, was the next president of the United States of America. But who I want is I want a scientist. Honestly, I don't think Mayim Bialik, she's a neuroscientist. She's great. She's pro-Israel. I think, honestly, Mayim Bialik, I don't want her personally, but at least just to see a neuroscientist on the stage, like, even if it has to be a scientist, like, even if it has to be her, I would just love to see a scientist in the running to be the next president of the United States of America. A scientist, a mathematician, a scientist. Like, in my opinion, if I could have voted for Nikola Tesla, I would have made a brilliant scientist like Nikola Tesla president of the United States if I could have voted for him. And I just think, in generally speaking, a scientist would be good to have in the running to be president of the United States of America, in my opinion. So, but I honestly, yeah, Mayim Bialik, I don't know about her, but anyways, Neil deGrasse Tyson, he's a brilliant astrophysicist. He would be good. And obviously Elon Musk is like busy on ketamine. I mean, I know Elon Musk is kind of like considered a scientist, but he kind of admitted, though, Elon Musk, that he actually doesn't have a degree in rocket science. So I don't know. Anyways, Elon Musk, he can't even be American president anyways, because he wasn't born in the United States, and you have to be born in the United States to be president anyway. So he can't be president, but we need a scientist. We got to encourage people to be astronauts. There's all of these bored people in the universe. There's all of these people looting. They're vandalizing, they're looting. And, instead of having all these bored people vandalizing, looting, why not let's take these people and let's inspire them to become astronauts. Let's inspire them to do something productive. And if we had a president of the United States of America who was a scientist, an astrophysicist, even maybe a former astronaut, right? That would be cool. That would inspire people. That would take a lot of these bored people who vandalize and loot and take all these bored people and might actually inspire them to become astronauts or even just be scientists in general, do something positive, even get a degree in neuroscience. It would be great for humanity, for the United States of America, the number one superpower, to have a scientist as president. That would be great, in my opinion. So, is it Dave? Dave, are you trying to say I'm drunk? Why Dave came in writing Russian? Is that, I mean, I'm not fluent in Russian. Oh, I mean, I do speak pretty fluent Russian, but Russian is my second language. My native language is obviously German. No, I'm just my native language is English ish. My native language is English, but I do speak a lot of Russian. And it looks like Dave is trying to accuse me of being drunk or something. I'm not drunk. I am not drunk. But he said he wrote in Russian. He wrote in Russian a word. He word piany, which means drunk in Russian. I'm not drunk. I don't know. Maybe. I don't know what you were saying. Were you calling me drunk? I'm not sure if you want to clarify. But he wrote piani. Heck, you know what? I've always been a big fan of James Bond. James Bond 007. If I could make him president of the United States of America, I know he's British, but anyways, James Bond 007, like, if you want to know one of the people I also really want. So I like Martha Stewart. I like Martha Stewart. Obviously, Martha Stewart can't be president because she went to prison for insider trading. Even though Martha Stewart is an icon and made America great again with all her wonderful recipes, Martha Stewart can't be president because she went to prison and someone stuck. I think. So Martha Stewart can't be president because she went to prison. I would love a scientist to be president. I don't know if America would vote for a scientist to be president, but it would be great to have a scientific mind as president. Um, and I think, oh wow, like James Bond 007. Anyways, this is my segue. This is actually the segue that I want to ask. This is a serious question. Well, sometimes you have to put aside the serious questions and ask something for fun. This is my question for fun, okay? When are we gonna get the next James Bond movie? I am a big fan of the James Bond movies. I grew up watching Pierce Brosnan, and I grew up watching Daniel Craig. And in the James Bond, they killed him off in the last movie. They shot him in another movie because the James Bond, they had a DEI hire. Right, it was the movie with the DEI hires, and then one of the DEI hires shot James Bond, and he went flying into the water. And Skyfall, in the Skyfall, the DEI hire shot you, and you fell into the water. The Skyfall movie. Remember the Sky? I can't sing. Remember the Skyfall movie with James Bond, 007 Skyfall, where he was on a train and he was wrestling that guy. You remember those two guys on the train? Remember that train and the two guys? James Bond was wrestling the guy on the top of the train, and they were really getting at it. And they were, anyways, the two strong, really good. Anyways, the two guys on the train, and then he was about to finish the job. He was about to take out the bad guy when the DEI hire in the workplace, in the British workplace, the DEI, British workplace hire, she shot James Bond, and he went flying into the water. And at first I thought, oh my God, did they just kill off James Bond at the beginning of the movie? But of course, no, they didn't. But then they killed him off later in another movie, he like pretty much he was on an island and the whole island exploded, and they just left James Bond on an island, exploded. If any island needs to explode, you know which island needs to explode. But anyways, and one of the James Bond movies, in the ending, he was on an island, the island exploded, and they killed off James Bond. And I guess that was also how they were saying that Daniel Craig was done with the franchise. But what they really need to do is they need to just pick a James Bond. They've been teasing us for years. Is it that hard to find a hetero? Is it that hard to find man, a real tall, strong, masculine man with muscles in Hollywood? Is it that hard to find a man in Hollywood to play James Bond? Like, why can't they just pick a James Bond and just start making more James Bond movies? I don't understand it. I don't understand what's the holdup with that. I know it's hard to replace Daniel Craig because Daniel Craig was a brilliant James Bond, but they killed him off. He's gone now. Daniel Craig said he's done with the franchise. They just need to find a new guy. Like, is it that hard to find a guy like in his 30s, whatever, 20, even in his 20s, 30s, even 40s? Just find a guy in Hollywood, make him the new James Bond. It's not that hard. And you know what? Not only do they need to pick a new James Bond, but they should also pick another Bond girl because remember the Bond girls, they were a big deal too. It was a big deal in the 90s and 2000. Well, ever since James Bond was James Bond, it was always a big deal who the James Bond was and who was going to be the new Bond girl. Remember when they made Halle Berry? Halle Berry was a great James Bond girl. Halle Berry was a Bond girl. She was a great James Bond girl. Halle Berry. They had Famke Janssen, the woman, the original woman who played Jean Grey in X-Men. Famke Janssen was a Bond girl. They had uh, Madonna. No, Madonna was in a Bond movie, but she wasn't a Bond girl. I guess she was a singer. She did the soundtrack of the Madonna. But in another movie, they could totally have like imagine if they made Taylor Swift. And I'm not even a big fan of Taylor Swift, honestly. I don't really like her, but they could make Taylor Swift the Bond girl. Imagine what that would do for the franchise. Like imagine what making Taylor Swift the next Bond girl and the next James Bond franchise. Imagine what that would do for the James Bond franchise. Because suddenly all of these Taylor Swifties, these Swifties people, these Swiftie women, all of these women who love Taylor Swift and whatever guys, all of these Taylor Swift fans, imagine if they took Taylor Swift and made her a Bond girl in the next James Bond 007 movie. That would be brilliant marketing. That would do wonders for the James Bond franchise. All the people who love James Bond, sure, we have to put up with Taylor Swift as a Bond girl, but imagine the money that the James Bond movie would rake in as with James Bond it would, and they could always just kill her. Anyways, they could always just anyways, Taylor Swift would make a great Bond girl in the next James Bond movie. She really would. She would make a great Bond, and he doesn't have to sleep with her. He doesn't have to sleep with every Bond girl that there is. But Taylor Swift would make a great Bond girl or villain. They could make her villain too. Actually, I would love to see Taylor Swift as the Bond girl villain. They could make her Bond girl villain. Actually, that would make more sense, especially since America lately and Britain, there's been a lot of rocky ties. So yeah, they could totally take Taylor Swift. They could make her an evil Bond girl because they do have lots of evil Bond girls in the James Bond movies. And that would bring so much money in for the James Bond franchise. All of these Taylor Swift fans would like be going to the movie theater or renting the movie, whatever, to watch Taylor Swift as an evil Bond villain, right? So that would be really smart marketing for the James Bond franchise. It'd bring money for the James Bond franchise, but it doesn't have to be Taylor Swift. As long as they do another James Bond movie, I'll be happy. As long as they do another James Bond movie, as long as they pick a James Bond, pick a man to be James Bond, and they could do another Bond girl, they could do Taylor Swift, or they could even do Sabrina Carpenter. Sabrina Carpenter, who's kind of like the new Taylor Swift right now. They could do Sabrina Carpenter. There's so many, like but the point is just do it. You know, just make that James Bond movie. You know who would make a fantastic Bond woman, Bond girl? Melania Trump. Melania Trump, she just reads like a Bond girl, Bond, whatever, Bond hero, Bond villain. Melania Trump, I think she should get into acting. I really do. And especially, she's not going to be the first lady in a few years. In a few years, Melania Trump is not going to be the first lady no more. I think Melania Trump, didn't she start off as a model, Melania Trump? I think Melania Trump, if they had her, even just as a cameo in the next James Bond movie, Melania Trump, wow, like that would be epic. Because Melania Trump, she just gives off these Bond girl vibes. She's so elegant, Melania Trump. She would make a great Bond girl too, Bond woman, whatever. There's all these people who are trying to make James Bond say, oh, maybe James Bond should be a woman. And maybe that's why these producers were taking such a long time because they're like maybe actually considering making James Bond a woman. Okay, look. Every country has traditions. Germany has cultural traditions. They have Oktoberfest. Men with big sausages walk around. Men walk around with big. Men walk around serving sausages. Men walk around with sausages, and women have walk around with big jugs of beer. They do dancing. That's German. Oktoberfest is a German tradition. Russia has a tradition. They love to drink vodka, whatever, Cold War, whatever. Russia has an espionage, whatever. Russia has its own traditions, Sweden, I don't know what Sweden does. I think they have Swedish meatballs, whatever. So, anyways, my point is France is clearly into some freaky shit. France is into some freaky stuff. Anyways, what my point is that these countries have traditions. James Bond is a British tradition. Him being a man is a British tradition. Just like it would be inappropriate to go to Germans in Oktoberfest and demand that they serve pizza, to demand that Germans in Oktoberfest serve pizza when traditionally it's a German tradition, they serve sausages and beer, and to ask Germans to serve pizza at an Oktoberfest would be wrong. It's also wrong to interrupt British traditions, and James Bond is a beloved British character, and it's a British tradition that he's a man. So all of these people who are trying to say, oh, it's politically correct to make James Bond a female in the next. No, it's not politically correct because actually you are going against the country's traditions and you're going against British traditions of James Bond being a man. The second reason is because usually when women hear there's danger, they run the other way. That's why James Bond needs to be a man in the next movie. Okay, listen, I'm not saying all women, but I'm just saying typically it's a British tradition. It's a British tradition that men are masculine, men are the breadwinners, and women, there's a lot of women that agree with me. They don't want a female James Bond. James Bond is a traditional, knight in shining armor. He comes save the day. He's mysterious. James Bond is a real masculine man. He's tall and he's strong and he's got muscles. And, James Bond is tall and strong. He's got muscles. He's a strong man, masculine man. He can throw another guy across the. So anyways, James Bond is a strong masculine man. And typically women are not known to be, and listen, I'm not saying that we can't have strong female characters. We have them. We have Buffy the Vampire Slayer, and they're actually bringing Buffy the Vampire Slayer back. We have Buffy the Vampire Slayer. There's Alias, Alias with Jennifer Garner as Alias. There's Covert Affairs. There's Buffy the Vampire Slayer. So we have Xena Warrior Princess. We've had lots of females. But what I'm saying is it's a tradition. It's a British tradition. In the same way, you don't want to interrupt German traditions, you don't want to interfere with Russian traditions. It's a Brit and Russia every year, they have a victory day in which they celebrate the fact they beat the Germans. The Russians will never let World War II go. The Russians have a Russian tradition every year. It's called Den Pobedi, Victory Day in Russia, where they celebrate the fact that Russia beat Germany in World War II. They will never let that go. The Russians have that tradition. They'll never let the fact they beat the Germans go. So you do not want to interfere with other countries' traditions. And if these so-called politically correct people try to make James Bond a woman, you are interfering with British traditions. That is why James Bond, in my opinion, just find a strapping guy, who's packing more than just a pistol. Find a strong, tall, masculine guy who's packing and make him the next James Bond. 007. It's not rocket science. Actually, and you know what they should do too? They should take one of these politically correct women. Well, they're not all women. Not all the political correct Nazi. Not all the political correct people are women. But in the next James Bond movie, here you go. Let's make a female if you want to be politically correct. Well, women can be villains too, right? In fact, actually, if you really want to be politically correct, since we've already had females that were, straight up heroes, well, we could also have more females. Obviously, there's also been females who've been villains as well. There was Carla Homolka. There was Amy Fisher. There was Nancy Pelosi. So we've also had females who were villains as well. But what I'm saying is, like, in the next movie, what they could do is they could make a big, huge villain and make her female. Because have there really been any like big female villains? I mean, there have obviously been female villains, but like they could make another one, and they could make her some politically correct. Like she claims to be, she's so politically correct, but really she's an evil monster, right? So they could take a woman, make her the villain in the next James Bond movie. She's this like politically correct person. She's emasculating. She's a feminist. She's an emasculating feminist, politically correct woman. And they could make her the next James Bond villain. And of course, since she like is anti-male, since she's anti-men, she doesn't like men. She's a feminist. And she's like, a politically correct feminist who doesn't like men, right? She would make a perfect James Bond villain in the next James Bond movie, right? And so it's like James Bond is like trying to run from this like emasculating woman this whole movie, right? So there you go. There's lots of roles for women in movies. Especially, we could have more roles for villains as women as villains, because women are villains too. Like all these people who try to say, oh, women, they're all innocent. Clearly, they're not all innocent. Clearly, they're not all innocent as apple pie. Clearly, women are not all innocent as apple pie. And so there's good and bad. Here is the point. There is good and there's bad in both genders. In both genders. In men, there's good and bad. And in women, there's good and bad. So for people to just blanket statement and say, oh, all women are innocent and all women are good and all women need to be believed. No, that's wrong. And for people to try to say the opposite with men, that's wrong as well. So what I'm saying is, if you really want to be progressive and whatever, and all these people, these politically correct people, well, I think it would be a better idea to make the next major villain in the James Bond franchise, a woman. And they could make her some politically correct woman who you think that she's all innocent and politically correct, and it turns out she's like the worst of them all. That would make a very interesting storyline in the next James Bond franchise. And also make James Bond a man. Just find a tall, strapping man with muscles who's packing more than a pistol. Find a man, right? Find a strong man. Make him the next James Bond. Just do it. Pick your next Bond girl. Maybe Taylor Swift would bring in all the Swiftie money. All the Swiftie money, all the Swiftie, the Taylor Swift fans who love Taylor Swift, they would go pay whatever, $12 to watch Taylor Swift as the new James Bond villain or James Bond girl. They'd watch Taylor Swift as the Bond girl. They can make Taylor Swift the Bond girl. All of the Swifties would spend their Swiftie money. It would bring in money for the James Bond franchise. It'd be a brilliant idea for the James Bond franchise to pull in all of the Swiftie money, the Taylor Swift fan money, because they would all love to see her Taylor Swift on the big screen, right? They would love you. She doesn't have to be an actress. It's as if they expect. It's like someone came in earlier at the live stream and said, "Is Taylor Swift an actress?" It's not hard to act. So someone came in early and they're like, "But wait a minute, is Taylor Swift an actress?" It's not hard to act, okay? It's not like rocket science. It's not like rocket science. It's not hard, okay? They could just give her like three lines, like, "Hey, Taylor Swift, can you just look at the camera and say these three lines and you're done?" Like, it's not hard, okay? I'm sure Taylor Swift does a lot of acting in her job. So, anyways, it's not hard. So they could just make Taylor Swift the next Bond girl, bring in all of the Taylor Swift money, make them the next James Bond a man, like any man, as long as it's a man, and not like Bridget McCraw man, like a real man. Not like a man dressed as a woman. Make it a real man. Make it a real strong man. It's according to British tradition. It's British tradition. If you try to make James Bond a woman, you're going against British tradition. So, anyways, follow British traditions. That's really being politically correct. Is you're following the traditions of Britain, and make it a man and just do another James Bond movie because we need masculinity. We need masculinity back in the movie theater. We need masculine, strong characters. We need strong, masculine characters back in the movie theater. Okay? Because like growing up, when we had Buffy the Vampire Slayer, we had Xena Warrior Princess, we had Jennifer Garner from, we had Sydney Bristow. She was Sydney Bristow from Covert Affair. No, Sydney Bristow from Alias. Anyways, we had all of these emasculating female superheroes that were emasculating to men. We had all of these female superheroes, and at least we had James Bond. At least when we had Buffy the Vampire Slayer and we had Xena Warrior Princess, we had Sydney Bristow from Covert Affair. I keep wanting to say Covert Affairs. She was from Alias, and then Covert Affairs was Piper Perabo from Covert Affairs. Anyways, we had all of these strong women types, but at least we had also a masculine male hero, which was James Bond. He seemed like our only masculine male hero. Well, okay, we had some others, of course. We had Indiana Jones, right? Whatever. But what I'm saying is, we have enough. We have enough female heroes. Let's bring James Bond back. He was a masculine, strong, masculine role model. Let's bring him back to the big screen and make another James Bond movie. It's as simple as that. Yeah, I said that. Yes, I said that lots of movies had women as villains, but not often. That's what I'm saying. I'm saying it's not as often that women are villains. I didn't say that movies never had women as I never said that movies never have women as villains. In fact, there's been many movies that have women as villains. But what I'm saying is that it's more rare. It's not as often. It's more often that men are the villains. That's what my point was. My point was it's more often and common that men are the villains and women are portrayed as innocent. So really, if you want to be politically correct and fair, you should equal the playing field, and you should make more women villains, because really, the truth is that a lot of people have this misconception that most women are innocent. But no, like it's probably 50-50. There's probably 50 like there are bad men. Okay? There's just as much villainous women as there are villainous men. Okay? There's just as much. So there's a stereotype where people think that most women are innocent, and that's not true. So what I'm saying is I didn't say that they never make women the villains. That's not what I said. What I'm saying is that they should make women more the villains, because that would be more fair. Okay? Because they already make the men villains constantly. Well, they should have more female villains. That's what my point was. That was my point. And like it would be really interesting to have like this character in the next James Bond movie, which by the way, I just want to say I was responding to someone's comment when I just was responding just now. But what would be really interesting to have like this politically correct, like feminist type, politically correct, like grammar Nazi, like grammar Nazi, politically correct feminist has the next James Bond villain, and she's trying to emasculate him, and then he's going to bring masculinity back to the movie screen, James Bond. And this feminist, politically correct, feminist type female villain is like the new villain in the next James Bond movie. And then he not only he comes back as James Bond, but he brings masculinity. He brings like masculinity, strong, tall, masculine muscles, like packing more than a pistol. He brings strong masculinity back to the movie screen. I think that would be great for the James Bond franchise. It would be brilliant for the James Bond franchise, in my opinion. In my opinion. I also like Priyanka Chopra. Priyanka Chopra is from Quantico. So Quantico was a good series. It only lasted 3 seasons. I wish Quantico did more seasons, but Quantico only did 3 seasons. And Priyanka Chopra was the star of Quantico, which was a series about the FBI. And I think even Priyanka Chopra would make a great Bond girl, even Bond villain, Bond girl, whatever. And the next James Bond movie, Priyanka Chopra would be good. She was from Quantico. Quantico was a great series. I don't know why it only lasted 3 seasons. I really liked Quantico. I really liked Quantico. It was a really interesting, edgy story about the FBI, where she was an innocent person and she was framed by, so anyways, by the FBI, by her own FBI. Anyways, I'm not going to give away the series, but Quantico was a good TV series about the FBI with Priyanka Chopra. She would be great to return to the movie theater screen, especially as the next James Bond girl. She would make a great Bond girl or even Bond villain, Priyanka Chopra. She would be good. I think, yeah, there's so many options, but just the point is just make that next James Bond movie. Just make it already. We've been waiting long enough. I love the James Bond movies. I used to love looking forward to the next James Bond movie, and now we don't have. It seems like we're not going to get another one for a long time because they haven't even picked an actor. Like it takes a long time just to film the movie, but if they haven't even picked the actor yet, obviously they haven't started even filming yet if they haven't even picked the actor. So like, it seems like it's going to take a while now to get the next James Bond movie out. So they should just pick an actor, pick a male actor and go with it and just do the next James Bond movie. Pick a man. But pick a good man, like pick a man, a real man. So like masculine man. Like don't pick a man that wears a dress. Like where pick go with go with British traditions. These are British traditions, okay? You don't want to violate Germany's traditions. You don't want to violate Japan's traditions. You don't want to violate Russia's traditions. And Britain has their own traditions. And in the British tradition, James Bond's a man. So if you want to be really politically correct, then you will, what's the word? Respect British traditions. You will respect and adhere to British traditions and if you really want to be politically correct, you will adhere to British traditions and make James Bond, the next James Bond, a man. So, and he could even have a delightful British accent. He could even have a delightful British accent. Delightful British accent. He could even have a delightful British accent as well. Really polished, sophisticated man, who's packing more than a pistol. I'm tired of all of these people saying, "Oh, toxic masculinity." What's toxic about being I can't even believe that's even a term. Who invented the term toxic masculinity? What are you talking about? When is it ever toxic to be masculine? When is it ever toxic to be a man? See, it was definitely, I think it was it I'm asking a question. I'm asking a question. Was it a woman who invented that term, toxic masculinity? Why are you trying to remove masculinity from the movie screen? Why are you trying to remove masculinity from the movie screen? Okay, there's nothing wrong with men being masculine. In fact, men, in my opinion, and it's my free speech, I think men, in my opinion, I like men to be masculine. I think men should be masculine. They should be tall and strong and muscles and like, like Superman, like throw you against the wall, like Superman, strong, tall, masculine. Like men, so I don't know who are these women who invented this word, this term called toxic masculinity. It's actually offensive to men. In my opinion, whoever invented this word, if it was a man or a woman, I don't know who invented the word, but whoever invented the word toxic masculinity, it's offensive to men. So, I don't know. Thank you. I'm not sure how to say your name. I'm sorry. I don't know how to say your name, but I think your name is Segment. Anyways, thank you, Segment, for your comments and your question. And your question is, who did invent that term? I don't know. I don't know if it was men or women. All I know is that term, toxic masculinity. It's offensive to men. I don't. There's no. What is the issue with men being masculine? Right? There's no such thing as toxic masculinity. Masculinity in a man is great. It's great for men to be masculine, in my opinion.